and welcome to the Women of Color in Business podcast. I am Lynette Cottrell, your host, and I am so delighted you decided to join us today. We are going on a transformative journey of embracing radical self-love and unlocking the full potential in both our personal and business lives. This podcast is dedicated to empowering us, Black women entrepreneurs, to break free from self-limiting beliefs and guiding us towards our best self. So if you're just starting your business or you've been at it for a while but feel stuck, we got you. Welcome to your safe place. We honor your unique business journey. Here is where you remove your mask, wear your own style of comfort, and get ready to soar. Together, we will grow exponentially and challenge the statistics of how our businesses headed and founded by Black women entrepreneurs, start, grow, and last. So enjoy this great episode and be sure to help us grow by letting your sisters in business know about us so they can also follow us, like us, give us 5 stars, and leave comments. We want to hear from you and know what you want to hear from us. Together, we're going to build a great ecosystem here, impacting the number of Black women-owned businesses that grow and last. All right, sisters, let's jump right into it. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another wonderful episode of the Women of Color in Business podcast, where you come to learn, grow, and get things done. Today, we have another beautiful guest with us, and we're going to begin with her introducing herself and her business.
Oh, thank you. Well, my name is Mariana Cooper. Everybody calls me Mari, so feel free. And I am a third generation intuitive and medium, but I also have an MBA in marketing and a BA in psychology. And I am really dedicated and devoted to working on helping people to find their energetic abilities and to integrate those with their intellectual abilities. So I have a full academy called the 5D Academy.
Okay.
And that's where I really focus on helping mostly women find that intuitive voice, connect in with it, and go way beyond that into all of their frequency-based abilities that they're born with, applying that to their businesses, personal life, etc.
Got you. Wonderful. So speaking about the 5D Academy, looking at your entrepreneur journey, was that the first big business you started, or did you start with something else and just gradually progress to that? Tell us a little bit about your journey into entrepreneurship.
I'll tell you, I always pride myself. My mother always said, "You were unemployed." I said, "No, I've been self-employed." Since 1997 is when I stepped out of corporate. And I got my MBA. I was recruited from business school into AT&T. And I did my stint of the Fortune. At the time, it was a Fortune 10 company, I think, or Fortune 20. It's kind of changed since then. And I was in human resources and marketing, and then moved into entertainment marketing, sponsorships, and promotions.
Okay.
And from there, I was a vice president of a promotion agency. And from there, I was I went into consulting and then was a contractor, so you go through that stage where you first kind of go, a lot of people start with MLM because they want to feel like the idea of passive income, and they realize that's kind of not the thing. So then they go to be a contractor, which is kind of like this glorified employee with no benefits. And then they go into being a consultant because they make more money. And then you say, okay, well, why am I giving all my best ideas to a company? I need to start on my own. So at the same time, though, that I was going through that phase, I was also discovering spirituality and my mom was into it and stuff, but I was on to my own path because my fiance passed away. When he passed away, I started to ask different questions. And those questions sort of led me through different gates where the most important question was when I was at his funeral and I was looking down over the rows of tombstones, and it hit me because we were so young, or in our late, early 30s. How many of those dreams are in that graveyard?
Oh, wow.
And not in the world?
Mm.
And I mean, I was literally standing there in, all black, umbrella, it's raining. It's like one of those moments that I can still feel to this day.
Mm.
And I said, in order to honor the legacy of him, I need to make sure that my dreams are out in the world and not in the cemetery, And so it started to make different questions happen. Like, who am I? Where do I fit in? Why am I here? Is this really all there is?
You're right.
And those are the questions, those are the gateway questions that led me to two things, to the energetic work and to entrepreneurship, because I needed to create my own path. So I did, once probably back in 2007, I started entrepreneurship online. I took what I was doing offline, in corporate, and I started down the path of the internet marketing, but with this spirituality part, it's the topic as opposed to the marketing. And one other thing that happened too, and this might happen for some of your listeners, is I had a contract with AARP, and the marketing manager actually hired me, the executive hired me to do, marketing projects, but it ended up me doing energetic readings for her bringing me in for interviews to see, like, if somebody's going to be the right fit, helping her with her corporate politics. And I ended up doing a lot more energy work and intuitive work than I did even marketing work, So it was really powerful to see how spirit kind of, starts to lead you. So the dovetail, and that was a question I had back and forth, like, can I make money from marketing, or from spirituality, or do I need to include some sort of business thing along with it?
Right.
So I started off doing marketing and manifesting for enlightened entrepreneurs. That was where I started. That required two different, very intensive advertising campaigns, because you're marketing to business owners and you're marketing to somebody's in personal development. And so I decided to leave the market. I said, there's enough people doing the marketing. My mission is really on the energetic side. And that's kind of how I landed in the beginning.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Sorry, I rambled
definitely.
on,
No. That makes a lot of sense, because a lot of us realize once we come into the entrepreneur space that where we thought we were going ends up being different from where we end up. Like, that was just the first step we had to take.
Right.
So you took your first step in a particular space, but that's not the last step you took. You were able to pivot as you needed to pivot and go where you needed to go to end up where you are now. So yeah, beautiful story.
Sure.
And I think my audience can learn a lot from that, because sometimes we get stuck on where we started and feel like, if I change, if I'm flexible, then I'm not doing what I said I was going to do, right? I'm kind of giving up on this, as opposed to that was just your first step to get you warmed up. And that was never your destination, right? That was just the first step in your journey. So I love that you were able to lay out how your journey changed as you listened and grew along the way with everything you were doing.
Absolutely. I think the key word that you said there, I think there's two key words in that journey, and one is pivot. The other one is fail, because there was a lot of that. There was a lot of, like, gurus, you spend $10,000 for this coach and you do their thing, and you kind of know more than their thing, and then they start asking you for advice, all kinds of things. Like, there was a lot of things in there, and then you would feel like you're failing, but you weren't really, because for me, I'm an online entrepreneur, so the technology was changing, and 1 minute, and the algorithm, there's algorithms involved, things like the dawn of video, prior to YouTube, we had flip video, and then all of a sudden, remember, everybody had the flip video cameras? And then all of a sudden it was YouTube. Then, of course, they came out with the iPhone, so you had all the, in the phone, the camera on your phone, and on it went. But as technology grew, you had to learn how to pivot, like in the online marketing space. So people
Yes.
want to bring their business from a basic coaching practice or from a brick and mortar online. You have to understand how to identify what true failure is, because a lot of times it's the market has been saturated with the model marketing. Like people kind
Uh-huh.
of are over the idea of book a free call and get book a free
Right.
call, and people are like,
Yeah, it doesn't catch attention anymore.
right.
You can't pull anybody into that funnel.
It's like antibiotics, people get immune to it, right? So
Yes.
so then I call them the internet cowboys. They create another system, and then
Yeah.
everybody goes and chases that system. But you always have to remember that when those internet cowboys are teaching that system, is because the system is on its way down. Because
Mm,
while it was in its heyday, they were making all the money from it and not telling anybody about it. And they
right.
make more money teaching it than they do
Mm,
actually doing it.
got
There's
you.
a lot of nuances to entrepreneurship, and even more if you want to be, in the online space, which I
Mm-hmm.
think everybody should be in the online space. I really do. I think
Yes.
you have the most flexibility. You have a lot of uncharted waters, even, uncharted territory that, if you look like even like Joy Reid, who just was let go from MSNBC,
Right.
it stopped her on one platform, but didn't stop her on all platforms because she's already on platforms. It wasn't
Right.
like I'm only a news anchor on MSNBC.
Mm-hmm.
Now she has Substack. Now she has YouTube. Now she has several other anchors who've gone through the same thing, and they're all coming together. The whole landscape is changing. So you have to be able to be a bit of a forecaster and not a follower. I think one of the big um, tripwires for getting yourself in trouble with entrepreneurship is, well, it's two things: not being up on technology,
Uh-huh.
that's you have to keep up, and
Yes.
the other is thinking that your goal is to replace your corporate salary. Like,
Mm,
that's not the goal.
yes. Say that
That
again.
your goal is not to replace your corporate salary. Your goal is
Yes.
to have multiple lines of income,
Yes. Definitely.
and some that you're more excited about than others. Some are low-hanging fruit, stuff you can do without a learning curve.
Right.
You
Right.
usually have something like some transferable skill that you can do without a learning curve, because your business at the beginning isn't ready to carry you in prime time yet. So you have to
Mm-hmm.
be willing to do something that's going to carry you through your learning curve, but it has to be low-hanging fruit,
Right.
and keeping up with technology because it makes your life easier. Like, don't like say no to AI.
Right.
Like, say yes to AI. AI
Yeah.
is not a bad thing.
Yes.
And if you pigeonhole yourself into, I have to replace the 150 grand I was making in corporate, and once I do that, I'm all set. And okay, this one client is going to replace my income. No, no,
Yeah. Desperate.
no.
You're desperate.
Just stop. You need, like, I'd rather you have 5 clients replacing that income than one.
Right.
Because when one goes, then you just create a boss and you don't get
Exactly.
benefits. And
Exactly.
it's just pretend. You're in make believe,
Right. Yeah,
you
you
know.
said a lot of good stuff right there. Having multiple streams of income, not just having your goal to replace your job income,
Right.
right? You want your business to do a lot more than that, and being able to tap into, like, so maybe what you want to do in your business is different from what you did in your career, but you can use those career skills to bring in some income because you know that so well while you learn what you need to get your business up and running like a well-oiled
Absolutely.
machine. So that's I love that concept you poured out right there. Very important because as solopreneurs, we tend to get stuck with replacing our job income, and
It's a death
we're just the employee with the
without
business,
benefits.
right? Exactly. No benefits, no freedom, no real freedom, because you couldn't really live the way you wanted to live on that salary anyway. So if that's all you're replacing, you still have your time is captured, right? Because that's your only stream of income. You don't have the freedom to do the things you really want to do in life as part of your living. So multiple streams definitely less necessary in thinking about the business structure differently.
I think, and synergistic streams. So they should leverage off of each other, right? So when you're thinking scale, like when you're thinking, like especially in the online space, you can do something for 2 people and you can turn that into 200 people doing the same thing.
Right.
So you're scaling. And then some people like to learn digitally, like they'd rather see a course and follow along with the course. Others want to see a live, others want to read something. So you take that same piece of content and you make it into a course, a live, and a PDF file.
Right.
That goes in 3 different directions. That's what I'm saying in multiple lines of income. I'm not saying you have to go like harvest
3
your
different things.
from
Yeah,
your
5
yard
different
and
things.
then
Right.
people's
Yes.
embroidery projects. Then
Right.
like that. It's
Yeah.
not like trying to make hobbies into money either.
Right.
That's another thing that people get sort of trapped in because it sounds soothing when you're coming out of a tough corporate situation, when you're coming out of all the politics and you're just like, I don't have any time for my passions. I don't have any time. I don't even see the light of day, especially with daylight saving stuff, when that ends. And I'm getting home, I'm seeing my kids at 9 o'clock at night and they're asleep and, all that kind of thing. I just want to do this hobby full time, and there's a big difference between a passion and a calling. And a passion is a hobby, right? And it starts out as it starts out as something that you feel like I could do this without getting paid for it. This is making my heart sing. This is giving me some zhuzh in my world. And passions are brought to us by spirit to learn more about ourselves, to expand, to ascend, to learn how to fail forward, to learn how to deal with success, to learn how to deal with other people's jealousy, to learn how to really get in the present moment. Because when we're doing something we're passionate about, we get very present.
Yes.
So it's about presence. But that doesn't mean it's supposed to carry the load of your life. And it could be a threat to that. It can be an indicator to that. But what I found is that, because I used to work in human resources, I used to actually work for a company called Lee Hecht Harrison, which helped people after downsizing.
Okay.
And I created a course called Taking Your Quantum Leap, There Is Life After Corporate America. And taught that to thousands of people. And the big thing was, how do you pivot? And back in the 90s, just having a passion was a big deal. And then the idea of doing what you love and the money will follow became that, that was a big book about that, Marcia Senator.
Right.
And, feel the fear and do it anyway. And there was there's a few of those that came kind of in that 90s corridor. And so I was teaching all that stuff, but the evolution of that was realizing that not every hobby, every passion is meant to carry the load, but your mission is. And when you start to be able to incorporate your frequency education, so you start to get your frequency fluency, meaning your energetic fluency up alongside of your intellectual fluency, and you combine the two, what you're going to find is that your higher self is going to call you to something. It's going to call you forward to something. And the difference is that in a passion, failing is part of the equation because it's part of the reason why you have that. You're interested, you're present, and you hit those contrasting moments in your life and you have to rework it, but you're so passionate about it, you're willing to go through it.
Right.
With a calling, yes, you have challenges, but you can't fail because it's a mission. It's a partnership with higher self that's supposed to get out to the world. And what you'll find is it keeps knocking at the door. And other things can fall away. And it keeps knocking at the door. So the better question to ask, instead of what's my passion, is what's my calling? And you'll get a different answer.
Okay.
And it will have the threads of the passion in it because you're not going to be, you're not going to be passionate about something you're being called to.
Right.
But I'll tell you, the word calling, back in the early days, I don't want to date myself too much, but back in the days, when I was in school, I went to Catholic school. My parents had me in Catholic school.
Okay.
You didn't want to hear the word calling because that meant you were being called to the convent or you're being called. You know what I mean? Like, God is calling you, you're going to be a nun. Like, wait,
Right.
what? No, I don't want to be called to anything. I want, So I think that a lot of times people get worried about that word. Like, what does that mean? That means I don't have control. That means something, my passions go over here because I'm being called here to do that.
It's something that I just have to do, but I'm not really loving it, right? Versus a passion or that hobby that is fun all the time.
Right.
So people, their mind, they can think that's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And so what you'll find is when it's a calling, there's almost a halo of light around it. So I was thinking about ideas for our show today and some examples because I was really excited about it. And I don't know if you saw the movie Wicked. Have you seen the movie?
Yes.
So most of us will know Cynthia and
yes.
and when I think about Wicked, and there's so many, I mean, I've done whole like 3-hour classes on the energetic meanings of Wicked because there was just so many things from the production to the actual story and whatnot. But I think for what's appropriate for today is when we look at like American Idol auditions, and you see some people walk in there and it's like, this is their passion, but this is not their, they need to go home. You know what I mean? Like they need to
yeah.
I'm so glad you're very nice. We're so happy.
Right.
Very good. Okay, go back to the job at the gardener's shop, whatever it is.
Yes.
And then you have someone like Cynthia Erivo, who like, even when she was singing along Jennifer Hudson, she made her look like she can't sing. Like this woman she's otherworldly. And it's not just singing talent, it's presence.
Yes.
She's bringing a permission slip and a presence.
Yes.
A lot of times, like when we would see Lady Gaga in the meat suit, it was sensational.
Right.
But it wasn't Cynthia with bald head and no eyebrows and nails and earrings.
Right.
Like really saying, you're allowed to, I am your permission slip to be who you truly are. And I am all things.
Right.
Genderless. I don't have to deal with all the accoutrements of hair and, face and all that. And I can be who I am. And her story, even as she's going on her press junkets and stuff, her like the main theme of her story is, it's okay if you hear no, keep going anyway. It's okay if you're different. And so that translated obviously into the storyline of Elphaba.
Yeah.
But I think but what you see though is the difference between a passion, American Idol, and a calling.
Yes.
Because she's on mission.
Yes.
Which is why this movie is still like 6 months in, you're like, Wicked! And now when's the next one coming? And
exactly. When is part 2 coming out?
Yeah. And she's on with the Oscars and like, she sings Home and then she sings since Defying Gravity and Ariana and you're just like, it was like the most watched Oscars in history, some crazy thing, she's records, but she's breaking records with her heart.
Exactly.
And her talent is just
you're right, it's otherworldly. And on the screen in that movie, whenever she shows up, it's kind of like you're captured. Right? You're captured by her presence. I think you used that word. Her presence is like so magnetic.
And she's willing to be different even in that. When she's talking to Fiero, I'm going to name my next dog Fiero. I tried with my current dog. He won't answer to it. So I'm like, my next dog Fiero, or a plant or a cat, something. I have to name something scary. But the way that she was so strong and there, and she got past his Prince bravado thing.
Right.
Got underneath that, and he got underneath her.
Exactly.
And I think that of all the costuming and stuff they did on her, this piece right here is the most, like her eyebrows were the Oscar winner. For someone who doesn't have eyebrows in person, and she had that whole this whole the way, like, if you look at the very first scene where it's her and Ariana, where Ariana turns around and goes, "You're green," that whole thing.
Right.
And she turns, she goes, "Really?" Like her eyebrows, and then she could kind of just sort of like evolve into a smile. Just the way that she ran that, it wasn't like, "I will deliver this line," there was presence. She was available to it.
Yes.
And I think that we can take that in our world. Like, if you ask yourself, like, how can I make myself available? How can I make myself Elphaba?
Ish. Yes.
Elphaba.
Where do I show up? What
Right.
am I doing when I feel that magical, when I feel that present, that energy that I got when I saw her? What am I doing when I feel that way for myself?
And courage, right? That theme of courage, that courage at the end of the day got her to fly. Because, and this is another big piece, and I could take up your whole show talking about don't get me started. It's like, that in politics, forget it. We're not going there, because that will blow up the whole show. But with Wicked, the one thing I want to say is, because most people, when they come to the whole energetic space, they have tried manifesting, whether it's visualizing, affirmations, or some semblance of it, all the way to quantum jumping and all the things people are talking about now. And one of the things that I always try to share with my clients is, when you start to deliberately engage in your natural born ability to manifest, to do alchemy, to bring something from the energetic version of itself into the physical form where you can actually use it in your physical existence, there's always a dropping away of something first. Like, you have to empty the cup. So if you went to Starbucks with your yesterday's cup with yesterday's coffee, they couldn't give you a fresh cup. You always have to empty your cup first before you receive that thing. So wherever you might have weaknesses that would not, Spirit is very concerned with you being able to sustain what you're asking for. So it's not just acquiring it, it's keeping it.
Yes.
Right. And so a lot of times, if you want this guy, or you want this significant other, this girl, this guy, and you want this epic relationship, you're on Match, or on whatever the apps of the moment are, and you're frustrated, you're focusing on, okay, what do I need to do? My hair, my nails, my body, my credit, whatever. Spirit might say, that's not it. It's time for you to go to yoga class, or it's time for you to go and, learn how to garden or something, so you can get more, or get a pet, so you can have empathy. This type of, like, you might be led down a side path that's actually part of the path, but it's part, I call the sustainability plan. Backing up just a second, often, especially in entrepreneurship, when we want to fly, when we want to defy gravity, watch what Elphaba did. She jumped over that column. She jumped from that platform to the platform. She ran through the window, and the first thing she did was she jumped out of the window and she fell.
Right.
She went straight down.
Yes. And she fell for a while too.
She fell for a while until she saw her inner child.
Right.
And once she connected with that, so she aligned with her power, and then boom, she flew.
Yes.
Right? You'll never watch that scene the same again. Now you have to go watch it. Okay, what did Mars say? Oh my gosh.
Nobody listening will watch it the same again.
You're not going to watch it the same, and nor should you, because there's so much in
meaning
there for you.
Yes, there's so much meaning.
And just the power of the fall.
Yes.
So instead
the power of her taking that leap, first of all.
Yes.
Like, okay, so I have a choice: stay here, get caught, or take a leap to, I don't know what's going to happen. I prefer to take the leap. I'm going to take the risk, right?
And it wasn't because it was all cushy, because she said, I don't care anymore. I don't care what they think. I'm done.
Right.
Ariana's like, pretzel yourself into what these people want.
Yes.
Don't be crazy. Don't do this. And she's like, you want to come with me? Oh, you don't? Okay, goodbye. Boom. And then she falls straight down.
Yes.
So that when you're in your own personal free fall, which we all go through, because you make that leap, okay, I'm going to leave the job. And then all of a sudden, the market crashes, and there goes your 401k, and how are you going to pay for this new house you just bought? All those kinds of things.
Yes.
The leap for what you might think is your passion or calling or whatever, and you fall first. But you have to start, and when you're in that fall, you need to ask the right questions. And the right questions are the questions that are going to get you the most information. Because instead of saying, what did I do wrong?
Right.
Or, how could this be happening to me?
Yes, disempowering questions.
What do I need to know most right now? How do I get more present? Because stillness plus silence equals synchronicity, meaning spirit will come to you in synchronistic ways to let you know you're on the right path. One of the big questions people ask me in my practice is this a sign? What's a sign? Like, is this a sign? Is this not a sign? I'm looking for signs. And the biggest thing that you want to have is that those synchronistic experiences where it feels like it was almost heaven sent, right? You have that moment where you're just like, I was just thinking, I was just asking the other day to my guides, I've been focusing on my book and memberships and things like lower end things as far as price points. And I said, maybe I should do my, big retreats or my bigger things. But I don't have time to really engage in calls about it and selling it and all that. And I was driving down the highway and I was just saying, maybe I should consider the high ticket moment, because I get more transformation when you have somebody in your group working with you in a mastermind. You're certainly going to do more than just reading a book,
Right.
The next night, that same night, I just out of nowhere, I have one friend who's wicked crazy like me. And I had been watching it for like the 40th time. And I said, Fierro gave Ariana the flower, put it behind her ear. And then when Ariana was trying to give Alfie the makeover, and she was changing her glasses and she finally took the flower from behind her ear and put it into Elphaba's ear. And she's like, you're so beautiful. Pink goes so good with green, right? She said this thing. And I said, it hit me. Oh my God, she gave Elphaba her man's flower. She just gave her man to Elphaba, which that means, and you saw that connection with Elphaba Fierro, and you're like, whoa, she just gave her man away and didn't know. So I call my friend Jen. I'm like, okay, I've got a trivia question for you. Okay, what did as I said, I said to her, what was the meaning of the flower behind? She goes, oh yeah, she gave her flower from Fierro to Elphaba. I was like, I hate you. You always know more than me. It took me 40 times seeing the movie to pick that up. But she says, it's so funny. You were on my mind all day. And I said, really? She goes, I was just listening to a call about how to do sales for high ticket programs for coaches. And I really want to do that. And I was thinking, who could I do this for? And she goes, do you still have your masterminds and your retreats? Can I do this for you? And I'm like, she's phenomenal. She's like one of these savant like sales, like she's just phenomenal. And she had been thinking about that all day while I was driving down the highway saying, should I move back into those programs? So that's what I'm saying, synchronicity. So if you get stuck, instead of trying to figure it out, stillness is different than silence. So stillness is when you physically still your body, like you're just here. Silence, you can be doing stuff, but you just have your mouth shut and you're tuned in.
Right.
Just tuned into spirit, right? You're just tuned into the emptiness because the emptiness is actually very full. And then when you have those two things connect, then it gives spirit a chance to bring the messenger, to bring the signs, to bring the synchronicities and the awareness of you to feel it. Because your higher self is sending over 100 messages to you a day. It's weighing in on everything, small, medium, large. And so when you can be still and silent, and I'm not saying you have to sit there like meditation all day long. I'm not saying that at all, but take some moments to deliberately say, okay, in this particular concern, I'm going to be still. I'm still going to go get my kid to soccer practice and put this on the table and write my next thing. But in this question.
So your stillness was asking yourself that question and pondering it.
That's right.
That was your stillness. And then later that evening, you received an answer to that question.
A messenger, yes.
Right. Got it.
So It's and it feels like an aha moment. So the anatomy of the aha moment.
Yes, that was going to be my next question.
Oh, good. So the anatomy of the aha moment. So we all get them. And it's really essentially when consciousness and the divine kiss, right? And we get this.
Right.
Where our consciousness becomes aware of our infinite self. That's the aha.
Yes.
Right? Because you get that feeling of like, whoa, wait.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, that was powerful. That was,
something.
Otherworldly. That was different.
Right. Or it just felt lighter and it felt like I need to pay attention. Like it just grabs your attention. But it feels haphazard. So as much as you'd like to be able to trust the intuition, trust the knowing, it's like, how do you get it when you really need it? Like when you're stressed out.
Right.
Et cetera, right?
Right.
Or pressured. And so the anatomy of the aha moment. So there's 3 parts to the aha moment.
Today's podcast is being sponsored by Your 90-Day Success Journal for Black Women Entrepreneurs by Lynette Cottrell. The journal is available on Amazon. It's inclusive of monthly goals, weekly and daily goals, affirmations, self-care practices, and inspiring quotes from other Black women. Be sure to get your copy today. Your 90-Day Success Journal. Hey sis, so thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you got some great gems today from our beautiful Black woman entrepreneur. You got inspired to go do more. You got re-energized and refreshed. We want you to take the best care of yourself. It is our deep belief that we as Black women entrepreneurs deserve to build our wealth without sacrificing our joy or our health. So we deserve to have the joy, the health, and the wealth. And we love helping you to get there. Again, be sure to leave a comment, rate our podcast, and share it with another beautiful Black woman that you know of. Visit our website at www.wocib.org and check out the great merch we have there for you and the workshops. We're working on some wonderful things for you. All right. We look forward to staying in touch. And until next time, be well.